Our story begins with Saul, a man of fierce conviction, standing sternly on a dusty Jerusalem street, authorizing the persecution of believers. He watches with grim approval as Stephen is stoned, his own heart hard to the peace on the martyr's face. Driven by this zeal, Saul journeys to Damascus. But on the road, a blinding light from heaven stops him. A voice thunders, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" It is Jesus. Blinded and broken, Saul is led into the city. In Damascus, a faithful disciple named Ananias, though afraid, obeys a vision from God. He finds the broken man, lays hands on him, and instantly, scales fall from Saul's eyes. His sight is restored, and he is filled with the Holy Spirit. Saul, the persecutor, is baptized and becomes Paul, the apostle. He immediately begins preaching in the synagogues, astounding everyone. This begins his life's work, epic journeys across the Roman Empire. He faces shipwrecks on stormy seas, riots in crowded cities like Ephesus, and imprisonment in dark, damp cells. Yet through it all, his faith never wavers. He preaches to philosophers in Athens, writes letters of hope from a Roman prison, and sees his message spread like light across the world. In his final moments, though an old man in a dark cell, his face is peaceful, illuminated by a single shaft of light, a man transformed, whose enduring faith changed history. Carrying a baby named Moses, floats gently among the reeds. He is discovered by the Pharaoh's own daughter, whose compassion shines as she rescues him, raising him as a prince in the glittering palaces of Egypt. As a young man, Moses is adorned in gold and fine linen, but his heart is troubled by the suffering of his people, the Hebrew slaves. In a moment of rage, he defends one of them, forcing him to flee into the vast, unforgiving desert. He finds a new, simple life in the land of Midian, becoming a shepherd and building a family. For years, the desert is his home. Until one day, on a rocky mountainside, he sees the impossible, a bush engulfed in flames, yet not consumed by the fire. From the heart of the blaze, the voice of God calls out, commissioning him for a great purpose, to return to Egypt and demand the freedom of his people. Armed with only his shepherd's staff and his brother Aaron by his side, Moses stands before the mighty Pharaoh. But Pharaoh's heart is hard, and his refusal unleashes a terrible judgment upon Egypt. The river turns to blood, plagues of frogs and locusts descend, and darkness falls, each miracle a plea for freedom, each one met with defiance. The final devastating plague passes over the homes of the Israelites, who are saved by the blood of a lamb, but claims the firstborn of Egypt. Broken, Pharaoh finally relents, and Moses leads a massive exodus of people out of Egypt and into the wilderness. But Pharaoh's pride is not so easily defeated. He sends his entire army, his chariots and horses, thundering after the fleeing slaves. The Israelites are trapped, with the Red Sea before them and the forces of Egypt behind them. In this moment of despair, Moses raises his staff. The waters themselves obey the command of God, parting into colossal, towering walls, creating a path of dry land straight through the depths. The people rush to safety, and as the last person reaches the far shore, Moses turns. The walls of water crash down, swallowing the Egyptian army and securing their deliverance. Yet their journey is far from over. For 40 years they wander the wilderness, God provides for them, raining down bread from heaven called manna each morning and bringing water gushing from solid rock with a strike from Moses' staff. They come to the foot of a trembling, smoke-shrouded Mount Sinai. There Moses ascends into the presence of God and receives the foundation of divine law, the 10 Commandments, etched by the very finger of God onto tablets of stone. Despite his unwavering leadership, Moses himself is not without fault. In a moment of anger, he disobeys God, and as a consequence, he is forbidden from entering the beautiful promised land he has led his people to for 40 years. In his final scene, an old and wise Moses stands atop Mount Nebo. The wind whispers through his long white beard as he gazes out across the Jordan River. A shaft of golden sunlight illuminates his face, a face etched with a lifetime of struggle and faith. He looks upon the vast, beautiful land of Canaan, a promise fulfilled for his people, his own journey ending in a powerful mix of peace, sacrifice, and ultimate devotion. This is the story of Joseph and his brothers. It began with a father's love. Jacob gave his son Joseph a special gift, a beautiful coat of many colors. But this gift made Joseph's 11 brothers burn with jealousy. Joseph then had dreams where his brothers all bowed down to him. When he told them, their jealousy turned to anger. One day, in the middle of the desert, that anger turned to betrayal. They ripped off his colorful coat and threw him into a dark, empty well. Then, they sold their own brother to passing traders as a slave. In Egypt, things went from bad to worse. Joseph was falsely accused and thrown into prison. But even in the darkness, he discovered a special gift. He could understand dreams. That gift eventually brought him before Pharaoh himself. Joseph interpreted the king's dreams, warning of a great famine to come. Pharaoh was so impressed, he put Joseph in charge of all Egypt. Joseph stored up grain, and when the famine came, it was so severe that his own brothers traveled to Egypt to beg for food. They bowed before him, not recognizing the brother they had betrayed. Joseph tested them to see if they had changed, and when he saw their remorse and their protectiveness of their youngest brother, he could no longer keep his secret. With tears streaming down his face, he said, "I am Joseph." Instead of revenge, he offered them forgiveness. He brought his entire family to Egypt, and his aged father, Jacob, was finally reunited with the son he thought was lost. Joseph looked at his brothers and said, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. What was meant for evil, God used for good." This is the story of a conversation that changed everything, between Jesus and a Samaritan woman. Tired from a journey, Jesus sat by an ancient well in the heat of the day. A woman came to draw water, her life burdened by shame and isolation. Jesus, breaking all social rules, asked her for a drink. She was shocked. "You are a Jew," she said, "and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me?" Jesus replied, "If you knew who I am, you would ask me for a gift, living water. Whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst again." Intrigued but skeptical, she questioned him. Then Jesus gently revealed the truth of her life, that she had had 5 husbands. Astonished, she realized she was speaking to a prophet. She asked him a deep question about the right place to worship, and Jesus shared a profound truth. God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the spirit and in truth. Finally, the woman spoke of her hope. "I know the Messiah is coming." And in a moment of breathtaking clarity, Jesus revealed his identity. "I, the one speaking to you, I am he." Her life was instantly transformed. She left her water jar, the very symbol of her old life, and ran back to town to tell everyone about the man who knew everything she ever did. The one who came to the well thirsty.